Hello everyone, my name is Flávio Pereira. I'm part of the Field Enablement on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. On today's lesson, we'll review our OCI Web Application Firewall. At the end of this lesson, we'll understand WAF concepts and use cases, describe the OCI service, and you'll also be able to explain its capabilities and architectures and show a quick demo of OCI WAF. So to get started, you need to understand what is a web application firewall. So when you expose a web application to the internet, you want to make sure that your website is protected against bad actors who wants to compromise your website. Web Application Firewall is a solution that helps protect websites and applications against attacks that cause data breach and downtime. WAF acts as a reverse proxy that inspects all traffic flows or requests before they arrive at the origin web application. It also inspects any requests going from the web application server to the end user. So most of those attacks are based on custom scripts that explore vulnerabilities of the web application. When a web application firewall recognizes one of those attacks requests, it can perform some actions based on the configuration that you define. It can allow the request to pass through, it can log the request, or block the request responding with an error page. OCI WAF is a cloud-based solution, PCI compliant, that protects applications from cyber attacks. OCI WAF can protect any internet-facing endpoint hosted on OCI or on-premises by intercepting HTTP and HTTPS traffic and pass them through a set of filters and rules. Those rules cover common attacks such as cross-site scripting and SQL injection. OCI WAF also provides aggregate threat intelligence from multiple sources, including web root, bright cloud. So, onboarding your application to the OCI WAF will protect you against layer server distributed denial of service attacks. OCI WAF includes over 250 predefined rule sets to protect against the most known attackers on web applications. You can also have the ability to configure OCI WAF to protect your application against bots. All you have to do is use the additional JavaScript challenge, CAPTCHA challenge, and whitelisting capabilities in conjunction with your WAF rule sets to further detect and block bad bots while allowing good bots to access your application. In addition to that, it gives the ability for you to filter specific source IPs or bad bots. The rules can also be used to control access based on geolocation, HTTP header parameters, and HTTP URL. In addition to provide protection for OCI workloads, OCI WAF also protects on-premises and multi-cloud environments. Having a single web application firewall to protect your workload in any environment is extremely important as you move to OCI. For those 250 predefined rules, OCI WAF uses the Open Web Access Security project to keep those rules always updated with the latest attacks available today. Those rules are managed and maintained by the open source community. So here's the way it works. These rules are compared against incoming requests to identify if the request contains an attack payload. If it's determined that the request is an attack, the WAF blocks or sends an alert about the request. Okay, so here's the challenge and whitelisting capabilities of OCI WAF. JavaScript challenge is the type of web challenge that's used on denial of service mitigation to filter out attackers from good clients. The challenge is to send to every client a JavaScript code that includes some kind of challenge. Virtually any browser has a JavaScript stack and will easily understand and pass the challenge without the user's notice. However, the denial of service bots typically don't understand the JavaScript stack and therefore they cannot pass the challenge. So a CAPTCHA challenge is a program that protects websites against bots by generating and grading tests that human can pass, but current computers programs cannot. For example, humans can read text in a different formats and shapes where bots can't. OCI WAF allow you to customize the comments for the CAPTCHA challenge for each URL. We also have the whitelist capability, which allows you to specify which IP address can access your application by passing out the challenge and the WAF control access rules. So you can use the user access controls to restrict or control access to your web applications. As an example, regional-based access control is perfect to keep your clients to access applications that are in a specific region. Another use could be to block countries from getting to your application servers entirely. For example, if you don't want to do business with countries located in Asia, you can completely block access from those countries. You can also activate the user control access based on HTTP header information or based URL address. Here's the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure WAF architecture. Once you configure your rules, you can then publish it to the WAF edge nodes, and where that's going to be spread around the globe. When a client requests access to your web application, all the traffic flows through the OCI WAF edge nodes before arriving at your application server. This allows the WAF to inspect the traffic and compare it to the defined rules and parameters that were published by the WAF policy that you created. So configured as a reverse proxy, the OCI WAF is going to inspect all the traffic going in and out of your web application and identify and blocks all malicious traffic, protecting your cloud environment and also your on-prem web applications. Here's a quick OCI WAF demo. All right, so let's do a quick WAF web application firewall demo here in OCI. So I'm logged on the OCI dashboard. You can see the main dashboard here on the page. If you go on the left side on the menu, you can scroll down here under Solutions, Platform, and Edge. There is an Edge Services menu. So you go here and you find the WAF policy. So I'm just going to click on WAF policies, and I'm going to display that screen right here. So I do have a policy that I created before. So I'll use that policy here on the demo just to avoid us waiting for the policy to get created. So just to spin up a little bit here. But I go over to the creation menu, and you can see what you have to enter when you're creating the WAF policy. So first thing you have to do is select the compartment, right, that you want to create a policy. And I'm going to click Create WAF Policy. I'll enter the name, right? It can be just a name to identify your policy by the application that you actually want to protect. So I'm just going to call WAF Policy. Primary domain. This is the domain that you want to apply your policy, or host your website. So I do have a domain that I have registered here in OCI. That's called OCIdemo.net. And here's the additional domains. And for the sake of using the matching the DNS record that I want my WAF to protect to it, I'll use the www.ocidemo.net, right? So which means every time that someone types www.ocidemo.net, let's go and redirect, let's go through the WAF nodes edge, and then after that send it to my my web application. Okay. All right, so here's how you can tie to your web app or your ending point, public ending point. So you're gonna give it a name, origin name. So this can be any name as long as it's gonna be unique for your environment. I'm gonna call this cube web page, and I have to enter the URI can be an IPv4, which is the public IP of your HTML or web application, or any application you're trying to protect through the WAF, or the FQDN. So in this case, I'm going to use cube.ocidemo.net. And if I copy that and just go to the web browser and type that, I do have a web page up and running here, just a simple web page running on Kubernetes cluster on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So just a page, just to use an example, right? That's the page that I want to protect. So I want to protect that access. So everyone that's typing www.ocidemo.net, we will land on that page, but they'll be protected by the WAF. So let's go back here. And this is really important, right? When you type the IP address or the FQDN, the WAF, when you create the policy, will validate that URI and make sure that they can resolve. If you won't be able to resolve that, I will be able to talk to that through the HTTP. You're going to give you the policy won't get created, right? So you have to make sure that it's reachable, the IP or the FQDN you entered here. All right, so there's some advanced options here. So you can play with the HTTPS port 44380 if you want to change one of those ports, if your application is using a different port than that. You can also enter some header name, header value, so you can customize some of the header options here as well. So I'm going to leave the default. I'm not going to change anything here. And after that, you can click create. And once you click create, the WAF will go and deploy the policy and enable that on the WAF edge nodes, like I mentioned on the lecture before. We're just going to go and deploy that through the WAF edge nodes. So I'm going to cancel here as I'm not going to wait to create that policy. So I'm going to use the one that's created right here. So once you create it, you're going to see the status going to creating and then become active. Once it become active, you can see the green sign right here, which means the policy is ready. And you can click on top of the policy, and now you can start configuring the policy, adjust your rules and everything that you want to use to protect your application. So first thing you're gonna see here is that message on the top saying you have to visit your DNS provider and add your CNAME. There's a CNAME here. This is the one to your domain's DNS configuration, right? So what is important here? You have to get that information and go back to your DNS provider and just enter that www, for example, that I'm using here and pointing to that specific CNAME. So just to give an example, if I go back here on the Edge services, I have the DNS zone management, as I do have the DNS registered here. So if I go to my DNS zone, I just entered a record here for the CNAME, right? Saying that every www.ocidemo.net, I'm pointing to the CNAME that WAF provided to me. Okay, so this is how you make the time between the DNS and the WAF. So let's go back here, go to the WAF policy, select the WAF policy. Okay, so here you can see information, right, of your policy. So the name that you enter, the primary domain, additional domains, if you enter more than one, you're going to be listed all here. The CNAME target that I just talked about it. Some of the overview, you can navigate it to the left side or you can navigate it through here. So either option works. That's going to give you an overview of everything. So let's go and start with the origin management. So this is actually the URI or the web application that I'm protecting. So I just entered that information when I created the policy. So you can see that information here. I can edit, I can add the new ones if I want. So I can do everything from here. I can just edit from this button right here, change the HTTPS port if I want, enter any header value if I want to add here. So I can go to the settings and I can edit as well. And on the settings, which is good, you can enable HTTPS support, which means you can drop your SSL certificate here. And if you want to protect through HTTPS, right, that's going to be HTTPS connection between the client, between the web browser and your WAF, right? So that's going to give you all the HTTPS communication here. Okay, you can enter the SSL support. I'm just going to cancel here. And now if you go to the protection rules, so this is the portion that I was talking about on the 250 predefined rules that are available here. By default, they are all offline. They are all disabled. And I enable some of them here. And when you enable them, you can select which action you want to take. You want to just detect it, detect that rule, or you want to block it, or you want to keep them off. So you can select which rule you want to and take some action on that, right? So for example, I want to block cross scripting XSS. So I just change the action here to block that. Okay. You can search your rule right from here on the left side. You can search by rules detected, just display detected, or display the block ones that I marked as a block, or the offline ones, right? And then there's a list here. You can change the page and go on. So it depends on what you want to use here as a protection rule. You can enable those as you wish. There's a tab called recommendations, and then if you go here, that's going to go and pretty much access your ending point, your web ending point, your application, and can give some protection rules that might be recommended for your application, right? So WAF is capable to access the page and just understand if there is any need to enable a specific rule to avoid, someone to break your application. Some of the rule settings as well, so you can edit here and you can change the action of the block action. For example, you can just say, instead of sending a response code, I can just show an error page, and I can customize that error page, right? When if there is any rule that was detected on your website, and then for your browser, for the end user, is going to show up a specific error page. All right, so the next one here is the access control. And the access control is where we start creating some of the things that I want, for example, for my application. You can add an access rule, and here you can give it a name, and then you can select a condition. There's a rule condition where you can, for example, block traffic from a specific country, for a specific region, based on URL. If the URL starts with something, with some string, or it ends with some strings, you can use regular expressions as well. You can block by IP. I want a specific IP address that I know that are is accessing my application. I can just block that action, right? So I can just block that IP address. Here on the actions, you can see you can log and allow, which means you're going to show up on the log files and allow access to the application. You can just detect it and just show a detection on the action of the log, or you can block totally. You can say I don't want to give access to my application at all. And then when you select block, you can change the action to, right? Same thing for the default settings. You can change that to show an error page, and then customize here the way you want the message to show up on the web browser. So you can add more conditions as well. You can create rules and can order which rule is going to be read first here. I created one called URL check, and if I added that rule, I'm just saying if someone types on my website www.ocidemo.net/check, then I want to block that, and I want to show this error page right here, just the default message of that on the page. Right, I have that enable and action is blocked. I have the IP whitelist, so I can add some IPs that I don't want to go through the access control rules. That's going to bypass everything, and then those IPs will get access without any restrictions to my application. You can just add the IP addresses right here. All right, the next one is the bot management. So this is where we enable some of the challenge that was talking about on the presentation. You can enable a JavaScript challenge, and then the WAF is going to send the JavaScript stack, right, to a challenge to the browser to resolve, and then most of the browsers will be able to resolve that just fine. Most of the bots won't be able to resolve that challenge, and then will fail on the request. So if you click enable JavaScript challenge, you can take some actions on that. You can detect or block. You can enter some specific headers on the HTTP or some specific amounts, putting some thresholds here and expiration times as well. Another one is the CAPTCHA challenge. In the CAPTCHA challenge, you can just add a CAPTCHA. So if you click here, you can change the title. You can put any title you want to. You can specify which URL path of your application will get the CAPTCHA. You would display the CAPTCHA page, and you can enter a specific message as well, right? So, and you can click here and have a preview of the CAPTCHA. So if you click here, you can see how that's going to show up on the web page. Right. So I created one, just basic one. If I edit, I'm just saying if someone type my URL /bot, you're going to see the CAPTCHA page. Okay. So, and then I have the log files. And here is going to show the log information when I access my application. So we're going to give some tries, and I will reach out the web and see how that goes. One thing to point here, you see the unpublished changes. So everything you change here, if I change the access control or the bot management, or if I add another origin ending point, everything I do here, I have to publish that. So what happened is, like I was showing the architecture, when you change something on the policy, that's going to publish all the way to the WAF edge nodes, and then you have to wait a few minutes that to be replicated, and then take action, then replicate it to the WAF nodes, and then that's where everything is going to be applied to. So one recommendation is try to make all the changes that you can and just publish at once, because that will publish all the changes at once. Otherwise, you make a change, and if you publish, you have to wait until you make another change. Once you publish things, you have to wait your WAF to become active again, to get out of the published stage, and then you'll be able to change something else. So the idea is combine as many changes as you can and just publish at once. Okay. All right, so let's give it a try and access the page. So let's go and try. I have another tab here. I'm just gonna, this is the pointing to the cube, right? So now I want to go to the www.ocidemo.net, and that's showing the same page. If I refresh here, it's just gonna show everything, same thing that was showing on the cube. How do I know that's actually going through the WAF from the browser perspective? So every browser has a inspect element, so you can use on the Chrome or Firefox. So if I right click on the browser, I can see inspect element, and then if I go to the network portion here, I can see the 200 status of connection. So I get the message from the HTTP saying you were able to access the page. And if I scroll down here on the response headers, I can see the server information that's going through the Zen Edge, which is the WAF nodes that I was talking about. All right, so I know that's now is going through the WAF here. So just close that, and if I now try on my URL to use the /bot, there you go. So I'm getting the CAPTCHA information. Now I have to enter CAPTCHA here and answer that. Let's see, UHHCJ. All right, so it's gonna give the 404, as I don't have anything on the page that's /bot. But so you know, you can see like when I enter the bot here, that's gonna give me the CAPTCHA information. So if I type check /check, I got the message saying access is blocked, right? So that's what I set up on the WAF. So every time someone typed that URL, I got an error message here, and you can see my IP address, the server IP address that I'm trying to reach, and the code and the description. So if I put a nice custom page here or custom message, I will be able to see that as well. All right, so if I go back here on the WAF, I'm just gonna go on the logs. Let's see if we can see the requests that we just executed. All right, so you can see here I made some requests. Just refresh one more time, see if I can find the check one. Yeah, I have the bot challenge that I entered. You can see from the IP address, you can see that that I was able to go through all the access to the page, right? So if I go on the log files and select here, I can see from the count region that was initiated the request. If I want to see a JSON format of that, I can get that information here as well. So now you can have all the log files. You can monitor like who is actually accessing your web page, who is actually connecting to your application. So you can have all that information here. You can keep refreshing the logs, and if there's more access, you can see things going on and showing up here. Right, so the check one that I blocked, right, the access rule that was actually denied. So I can see here that information, right, which IP address was executed that request. All right, so yeah, this is given an overview of a WAF and what's the capabilities, what you can do with that. And once you start creating your policies, you get more control of the access of your applications. All right, so yeah, let's conclude our presentation. WAF. All right, so here's a summary of our lesson. So OCI WAF is a cloud-based web application firewall that's PCI compliant. It offers granular access control by allowing to block by geolocation and URL blocking as well. It can protect any internet-facing ending point from cyber attacks and malicious actors. It can also protect your on-premises applications too. All the traffic flows through the OCI WAF edge nodes before arriving at your application server. All right, that's the end of our lesson. Thanks for watching.